Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, there's been a lot of NBA news, a lot of NBA action. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're going to bring on old mate Parky to help us break down the events of the last couple of days. Parky, how are you?
Right, there's a lot of news on. The MVP's been named, and there's a few injuries going on, and there's a few series that have been reinvigorated. So it's we say it every show, but you've just got to love the NBA playoffs. Absolutely,
Parky. And it just seems that the NBA news cycle never ends. We've got a lot to talk about. You mentioned that MVP. It's been a bit of a controversial MVP choice. We're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to start off, though, with the Boston Celtics and yesterday's game. Now, Parky, I apologized to Giannis the other day because, I picked the Celtics to win, but I thought the Bucks were coming back, and I apologized to Giannis. But the Celtics have really made this an absolute series right now. They win yesterday to tie it up. It's now 2-2. Al Horford goes absolutely mental in the fourth quarter. Old man Horford is about 116 years old. He scores 16 of his playoff career high 30 points in the final period. Boston wins the game 116-108. Boston scored 43 points in that final period, which ties a franchise record for the most points in a quarter during a playoff game. Horford was 11 of 14 from the field, 5 of 7 from three-point range, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Parky, he was playing like a young man.
Old man Horford. That was his playoff career high of 30 points. He had 16 of those in the fourth quarter, when mostly, sometimes the old guys might slow down a little bit in the fourth quarter, but not Al Horford, although he was fired up a little bit. I think we're going to touch on that a bit later. But, Giannis fired him up. But, what a performance in that last quarter. He just really just turned that game around. He and Tatum, and Marcus Smart chipped in with 9 points in that fourth quarter as well. But to outscore the Bucks on their home floor, 43 to 28 points in that last quarter was just amazing. In fact, that 43 points is a Boston Celtics playoff high for a fourth quarter score. So that's something they've never done before, and it was due to old man Al.
Old man Al. Now, you did mention that incident that sort of fired him up a little bit. It was during the third quarter. Giannis Antetokounmpo dunked on Al Horford. We've got the footage right here. Stared him down and received a taunting technical for it as well. And then obviously Al Horford's sister tweeted out, that she recognized that was the moment that it was all going to change for the Boston Celtics. She said, I recognized that look that my brother had. After that, the Celtics went on a 68-54 run to win the game. Post-game, Al Horford said, the way he was looking at me and the way he was going about things, it didn't sit right with me. And that sort of flipped a switch at that moment. Parky, who knew that Al Horford had this sort of fire left in his tank?
Yeah, well, he was amazing, and he actually got Giannis back a little bit with his old man experience on that big and one that he had late in the fourth quarter. That was a huge play. He actually drove on Giannis, dunked sort of over him, and came down with his left arm sort of on top of his head. He ended up getting a tech foul for it, but he still shot the N1. The Bucks got a point out of it as well for the technical foul, but he stood up to Giannis. I mean, it's not that Giannis had a bad game. He had 34 points and 18 rebounds. So it's not that Al Horford necessarily just reduced Giannis to nothing, but he definitely matched him, and that's all they needed in that fourth quarter to get through. But what a performance from Al Horford. I'm secretly, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but how great would it be if the Sixers got through and the Celtics got through and Al got to play against his old team in the next round? But we'll wait to see what plays out, because it's no guarantee that those teams are going to get through.
It may still happen, Parky. We'll have to wait and see. But, this is I look at this series now, it's obviously 2-2. They've both won one on the away. Each team's one game away, so it's 2-2. It's now essentially a best of three, and the Boston Celtics have 2 of 3 of those at home. And this is where this is the reason why I kind of picked the Celtics to begin with. Obviously, I just thought that their defense was going to be swarming Giannis, and they're not going to have. They don't have that sort of other guy now that can sort of step up without Chris Middleton, because you look at it and it just seems like Giannis is obviously incredible, and I'm never going to ever doubt him ever again, but it just seems like he's doing too much by himself right now, especially we saw in this game yesterday.
Yes, that's happened. And a couple of their shooters have gone a little cold. Grayson Allen's not as hot as he was early in the series, but yeah, this could go either way. As you said, it's a best of 3 now, and the Celtics, I think, winning that pivotal game 4 in Milwaukee. It was just huge for them. That it was just a massive game to get, because now, they go back to Boston. If they win that one, then who knows? They've got another shot at them in Milwaukee. But if not, they go back to the Boston TD Garden, where I don't think the Celtics in playoff history have lost too many Game 7s over their storied franchise. Over their history. So, I think Boston are definitely in the box seat, and Middleton wasn't really, I guess, talked about much. Like, they weren't missing him when the Bucks were sort of 2-1 up with another home game to go. People were thinking they were going to go up 3-1 without Middleton, but now it's looking like they really are missing that that extra scorer. Well, basically their second leading scorer in the team.
Parky, is it fair to say, this coming Game 5, whoever wins Game 5 probably wins the series, right?
Yeah, I would say that, because if the Celtics win it, then well, put it this way: if the Bucks win, then they're going to Game 6 in Milwaukee to close it out. So, so we say every game's pivotal. Game 4 was pivotal. Game 5 is pivotal, because, as you say, I'd agree with that. Yeah, whoever wins that Game 5 in Boston is looking pretty good for the series.
And that's what we love about the NBA playoffs. Every game matters. All right, Parky, let's move on a little bit. We're going to touch on this MVP, conundrum, I guess. So Nikola Jokic was reportedly named MVP, because it hasn't been officially announced by the NBA just yet. But apparently he's going to be named MVP for the second consecutive season. Also won it last year, obviously. This is probably the most contentious MVP decision since Russell Westbrook, I guess, in 2016-17, I believe it was. Jokic wins it as a 6th seed. Now, this is 4 consecutive years of non-American players winning the MVP. Obviously, Giannis won back-to-back, and now Jokic has gone back-to-back. Now, the reason why this is contentious is because he did win it as a 6th seed, which I believe is what the OKC Thunder were as well, that the year Westbrook won it. Now, I guess I've got a 2-part question for you here, Parky. I actually thought Embiid was the MVP, because for me, you can't be MVP if your team's out of the top 4. Like, that's just one of my criteria. And if I had a vote, I would have voted for Embiid. Now, Jokic did average 27.1 points, 13.8 rebounds, 7.9 assists. But an MVP, look, I know it's a regular season award, but MVPs generally do go on deep playoff runs. The Nuggets obviously knocked out in the first round. Only 4 other MVPs have been knocked out in the first round in the year that they won. Wes Unseld, Moses Malone twice, Dirk Nowitzki, and of course, Russell Westbrook. Now, so the first question is, was Joel Embiid robbed? And 2, do we need to change the criteria for MVP and maybe make it a little bit more defined as to what most valuable actually means?
Well, firstly, a couple of things. I love the point you made about the last 4 being non-American born, because the 3 finalists were all non-American born as well, with Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic, of course. So, and Doncic was in the conversation as well. So that's an interesting point. The other point I want to make too is, as you mentioned, it hasn't been officially announced, but Woj has said it's so. I mean, I don't know how that works as far as it hasn't been officially, but everyone's counting it for the way it is. And if you listen to ESPN, a lot of people there actually voted for Embiid, who was your pick. But to get to your original question, no, I don't think he was robbed. I mean, the guy had better, he won it last year, and he had better stats this year. And I know we're talking about, him being a 6th seed, and he got bundled out in the first round, but it is a regular season award. And I've got some stats here. He was the first player in NBA history to score 2,000 points, have 1,000 rebounds and 500 assists. So that's pretty good. He had 19 triple doubles. He also joined Karl Malone, the only player in NBA history to have 5 straight double doubles with 35 plus points. So I think that's amazing. Another stat that I think is very important is the lowest average for a team leading, for the second leading scorer in the team was the Nuggets, and that was Aaron Gordon with 15 points. So, look, Jokic carried this team, and I know they finished 6th in the West, but they still won 48 games. And Embiid's Sixers won 51 games, and Giannis's Bucks won 51 as well. So it was only 3 games off that. And in the season, I think they went 46-28 with the Joker, and they went 2-6 without him. So it's called the Most Valuable Player Award. And I think Jokic was definitely the most valuable player for his team. In saying that, I don't really think that I wouldn't have been mad, as you would say. I wouldn't have been mad if Embiid won it, or Giannis for that matter. But I think he's a worthy winner. And as far as the criteria goes, I mean, you could include, if you're going to make it, you could include, I guess, the playoffs, because the playoffs are a huge part of the season. There's probably at least another, most of the good teams play probably another quarter of a season, as well as their 82 games. They play another quarter in the, sometimes more in the postseason. So you could change the criteria, I guess, as far as counting the playoffs in, or maybe your team has to finish in a certain space or win a certain amount of games. But in this instance, look, I really think, it's never been done before. 27.1 points, 13.8 rebounds, 7.9 assists. It's never been done before. He won it last year. He did even better this year. I'm comfortable with the Joker winning it.
Yeah, look, again, like I've said, you can make a legitimate case for any one of those 3 guys, Giannis, Joker, or Embiid, right? I had Embiid. I just think the NBA needs to be a little bit more transparent in terms of what their criteria is. What do they, look for when they go to the voters and say who's going to be your MVP? Is it purely based on stats? Is it purely based on how many games they win, or all that sort of stuff? I just think they need to be a little bit more clearer. But again, look, he had an incredible season. He is an awesome player. No one's taken that away from him. I just think the NBA needs to be a little bit clearer.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And we've also got to talk about the defense. I think Embiid, even though I think Jokic played pretty good defense this year and probably improved from the year before, Embiid definitely had that over him, as well as scoring some more points. So you're right. Look, there's a lot of criteria that you could argue that Embiid should have won it. And even you could even put a case forward for Giannis as well. But yeah, look, the 6th seed. I mean, Embiid had the 4th seed in the East, which I guess now is probably a bit tougher conference. But yeah, no, I'm happy with it. But look, if you look historically at the way the MVP's gone, I mean, there were years when Michael Jordan didn't win it and should have. And look, even LeBron, I think there were years there where these guys set such sort of high standards that they don't get it too. And also on this MVP conversation, I have to give a shout out to you, Nick, for a great article you wrote about that exact fact that a lot of MVPs Russ did it, I think, the most recently, only about 4 or 5 years ago, where he's bundled out in the first round. And I think that article was great, a great read. Check it out. Listeners out there, go and check that out, because it was a really fun thing to read, and it triggered a lot of great playoff memories for me. I remember Dirk in 2007 when we were all rooting for him when he won MVP, and they were bundled out surprisingly in that first round. And you even went back to Wes Unseld in '69, Nick.
I had to do a bit of research on that one. I'm not that old, Parky, but I definitely did research on that
I was 2 years old then, and I can't really remember that season that clearly. But it was great to read about how Wes got the MVP and then was bundled out. And you also said that he won the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, in the same year.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
how
it's
the hell
amazing.
does that happen? That wouldn't happen nowadays. But
Nah. All right, Parky, let's talk a little bit about old mate James Harden right now. Because speaking of Embiid, his presence alone actually reinvigorated James Harden in the last game that the Philadelphia 76ers played. Now, there's a lot of talk that James Harden was washed, that his best days were behind him. He came alive against Miami in Game 4. A lot of that was due to Embiid's presence there. Harden thrived, 31 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Best game of the playoffs so far. That series is tied 2-2. Can he keep this up and get Philly past Miami?
I think he can, but we can't forget the other guys that are chipping in. Tobias Harris has had a very consistent series as well, and Maxey can pop his head up at any time. Having Embiid back there is really good for them. But yeah, when you've got James Harden hitting, that step back three again, he hit 6 threes in the game. The game the other day, when was it? Monday our time, and he was looking like he's back. And I think Embiid, and you're dead right about Embiid, and that's why the argument for him to be MVP doesn't just go to stats, which is what the Joker had. But just his presence, and I think there's been advanced stats put out about how Harden's closest defender has been, when Embiid's on the floor, it's like 3.7 feet away from him. When Embiid's off the floor, it's like 2.6. So I think Harden's loving having the big fella back. And I think now that he's got a bit of confidence, it's going to be interesting to see in about 15, 20 minutes how Game 5 goes.
Yeah. My thing is with Harden, look, I'm not a particular fan of his game. He's obviously an awesome player as well, but I've never really enjoyed watching him. And the knock on him is obviously that he disappears in big games. We know what he's capable of, and he proved it in this Game 4. It's just been that consistency of doing it in the big games. Look, maybe now he might, prove people wrong. Again, he's got Embiid there. He needs to prove people wrong, though, because until he does it, people are just going to assume that this was an outlier or a one-off. And, if he's going to have a big game again in Game 5.
Yeah.
So like you said, we're going to have to wait and see what happens today.
Yeah, no, it will come down to this. And look, he's still 8 from 18. He's still shot under 50%. I don't think he's shot over anywhere near sort of 50% in the series. So yeah, there's still a long way to go. But look, he has reinvigorated this series. Well, Embiid has. But yeah, that Game 4, Harden, I think everyone's been waiting for that one. But now they go back to Miami. So let's see how they go. Let's see how Harden goes in Miami for this Game 5.
Let's see how they go. Let's take a look and see how the money's coming for that game right now, Parky. So this game's going to tip off, like you said, very shortly. Miami Heat favourites in Miami here, $1.66. Philadelphia, $2.27. The line's at -3. Total is at 208. Live on NBA League Pass today. Parky, this one's been tough. This one's been tough to call. But what are you seeing from this one?
No, this is a tough one. A lot of people are jumping on the 76ers bandwagon now with Harden, with that big game in Game 4. But it's interesting to note that the Heat, in their road games in Philadelphia, Games 3 and 4, they shot 40.9%, whereas their home games, they shot something like nearly 48%. So I expect the Heat to shoot a lot better at home. Their role players will shoot a lot better. I think the Heat are just working out how to play Oladipo and give Duncan Robinson some time, because he hasn't really had much time. And look, this series, all 4 games have been basically won by the team who hits the most threes, or hits threes at a good percentage. So that's what it could come down to today. I'm actually there's been a bit of money coming for the 76ers in this game, that it's been sort of hovering from 3.5, 2.5, but it's settled at I think 3 at the moment. And I'm going to tip an official pick, even though Lowry I think's out in this one, but I'm going to officially tip the Heat in this one, -3. As far as the under over goes, that's been all over the shop in this series. It's gone under over. So I'd probably lean towards the under in this game, but I'll stay away from that. But we'll take the Heat -3 at home.
Yeah, I'm actually going with Miami as well. Jimmy Butler had a great game last game, 40 points. Obviously, Kyle Lowry has been hamstrung by hamstring issues. And Bam Adebayo was in foul trouble last game as well, so he didn't really have the impact that he normally has. Going back home, I think they're going to win that one there.
The only thing is, I guess people are saying this, and I think it would factor in, is Embiid. Do you think he's going to be a little bit ticked off not winning the MVP, and he's just going to have one of those super Embiid games?
He might, because he's made it very clear that he wants to win that MVP. You know, he thought he deserved it last year. He feels like he deserved it this year. So we might see a monster 40-20 game from Embiid, and if that happens, Miami Heat might be in trouble. All right, let's take a look at that other game on the slate today. We've got Phoenix and Dallas. Phoenix $1.34 favorites. Mavericks $3.35. Lines at -6.5, total 214.5. That one's going to be live on ESPN from just after midday today. Parky, what are you seeing from this one?
Well, Chris Paul can't play as bad as he has in game 3 and 4 back in Phoenix in game 5. I think that's going to be the difference in this. The Mavs have reinvigorated this series. By winning those 2 games at home. But I don't see Chris Paul. It's like as soon as he turned 37, he just he started playing like he was 47. But I don't think. I think the first game Phoenix won by 7 and then won by 20 in the second game. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout win. That's why I want to stay away from that spread. It's 6.5. But I do like the over in this game, and money's been coming for the over because it was 213 only yesterday, and it's now up to 214.5, but I still like the over, so that's my pick in this game. Take the over. They've averaged 220.5 points in this series, and I think it only has to average, what it's been going at to get that over there. And the 2 games in Phoenix they scored 235 in game 1 and 238 in game 2. So now it's back in Phoenix. I like the over 214.5 in that game.
I'm going with the Phoenix Suns today. Again, I think it's going to be a close one. Pretty much for every reason that you stated. And I just don't think that Chris Paul is going to have 3 horrible games in a row. All right, Parky, let's take a look at this NBL Grand Final game today, which could be the last NBL game of the season. We're hoping that it's not, but it just might be. And the Kings are favoured to take home the championship tonight. They're $1.35. Tasmania Jackjumpers $3.20. The line's at 7. Total is at 168. You can watch this one live on ESPN tonight from about 7:30. Parky, you and I both picked the Kings in 4. It's looking like the Kings in 3, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The Jackjumpers had that chance in game 2 down in Tasmania because in the NBL, just with a 5-game series, they do the 1-1-1-1-1 instead of having the first 2 games at home. So the Tassie really needed to win that game too for it to be a 4-game series. So look, Jalen Adams, the MVP for Sydney, or the MVP for the league, who missed game 2 down in Tassie, he's going to be a game time decision in tonight's game. So because of that, I'm going to stay away from that 7 points. I do think the Kings are going to win and they're going to sweep the Jackjumpers. But that spreads, it's just a little bit high. And the fact that Jalen Adams is a game time decision, I sort of will stay away from it. But what I do like is the under 168 points for this game. Even though both games have gone over that margin so far, I just think it's going to be a little bit tighter tonight. I think that game, that game will go under that total.
Yeah, look, I've doubted the Jackjumpers on a few occasions this season. They've proved me wrong. I do think they are going to put up a fight tonight, but I do think this series is done. If you could bring back, if you're the Sydney Kings and you're bringing back Adams, right, he's just like waiting to come back for a game like this. I don't know what to say. Like that's a nice ace up your sleeve to have.
It is, and the Jackjumpers have got a kid called Adams who's pretty decent as well. He had 36 points in that game too, and he did everything in his power to try and drag him over the line, but with Sydney not having Jalen Adams, in the team, I think that was their chance to sort of get into this series and make a bit of a go of it. Because if they were coming back, if they did lose tonight's game 3 and they were coming back to Tassie 2-1 down, there'd be a good chance it could go to 5, and you never know what could happen. But I think you and I had them winning in 4, and I think I don't think that's looking too good. I think I think you could get $3.20 for that after game one, but that's now blown out to $5.50. So everyone's expecting. There we go. We've got them up there. So yeah, the Kings are expected to win tonight at $1.35, and yeah, the Kings to win in 4-3-1 is now $5.50. So look, if you're a Jackjumpers fan and you think they could steal tonight's game or maybe steal the other, there's some good odds for you there. But yeah, I think it's looking like it's going to be over, which is a real shame because it feels like we've blinked and we've missed the NBL playoffs. I mean, the NBA playoffs go for a good 6 weeks or so, well into June, mid-June, whereas yeah, the NBL playoffs we're over pretty quick, a couple of sweeps, and this best of fives could be over tonight as well.
Well, hopefully not, Parky. Hopefully we're talking about a game 4 on Friday morning, but I highly doubt it. So we'll have to wait and see. All in all, there's going to be some good basketball played. So, Parky, we're going to catch you again Friday morning as always. So thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem. I'm having Friday off, actually.
That's right. You are too.
I'm going to have Friday off, but I'm going to be back Monday. And yeah, so our NBA tipping is, we didn't have a good day yesterday, but we're still 18 and 12 in our NBA tipping. So hopefully these tips we had today are going to come through, and then we'll have some more for you on Monday.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. All right. We'll catch you on Monday morning. This has been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good mates at topsport.com.au. We'll catch you guys Friday morning.